Hello, Terry here, Hot Wrench Fabrication. So a couple videos ago I worked on a 55 Chevy and I really wasn't happy with the intake tube that I made for it. Everything fits and everything, but it just kind of looks a little hokey. So I'm going to fix that on this video. I'm going to make some pie cuts and make a nice stainless steel tube for it. So we'll see how it turns out. Alright, so here's the tube that I made, which we already had this 90-degree rubber elbow, and then this part was already on there, and then he had that air cleaner sticking on here, which was kind of ugly. So I built this box down here, and the air cleaner's down in there, which looks pretty good, except for the fact that this is all ugly. Can't stand all this rubber looking, so taking all that off, and I'm going to build a new tube out of the stainless steel pie cuts. So what is a stainless steel pie cut? Let me show you. Alright, so these are pie cuts. This particular one was made by Rimtune. I've really heard of them before, but I haven't done, well, I've never done a pie cut. So this is a package of 5 stainless steel, laser cut, deburred, so they're perfectly flat, which is very, very important when you go to weld this stuff together. So this is what a pie cut looks like when you start putting it together. You can see how nice and tight. You really can't do that from a big mandrel bend stainless steel 4-inch tube. It would be way too big. So we use pie cuts to create a real tighter arc on there. And then you can turn these and twist these any way that you want to manipulate them, because I have a couple of bends in there. But a lot of welding, and the key to welding stainless steel is it got to be super clean and it's got to be perfectly straight. You don't want any gaps, because you get any gaps, then it's going to make your TIG beads or welding kind of a little bit bigger and stuff. So they do make different angles on here. So basically how you figure out what angle you want is, hold please, get in my calculator. So if you, alright, so we want a 90-degree, and you can, get that glare off there, you can get however many pieces that you want. If you want 6, 8, 10 of them, you just divide that by how many pieces. So there's 5 pieces here, so we're going to divide that by 5. So basically each one of those needs to be 18 degrees. So obviously there's 2 sides to each one of those cuts, so divide that by 2 and you get 9 degrees. So these are 9-degree pie cuts, and you can get them in 5s or 10s or whatever you want. Common is to get 5 of them and make a 90. So with that 9-degree cut in there, I mean, I can make quite a few different shapes. And then I will have obviously a little bit of straight pieces coming out. And then yeah, just got to build it off of what I already have on there. I'll show you the process. All right, so actually it would have been a little helpful if they put lines on here. They could make a little notch or an etch or something. But I put the lines on there so I can clock this stuff a little bit easier. If I want to make exactly a 90, you have to have these straight up and down, right on the money. So kind of hard to figure out, so I just took a mic and I measured the width of it, found the whitest spot, and then put a mark on there. So I think we'll be pretty close. So I'm going to fusion weld all these together. So when you fusion weld, you have to have a good seat on, or not a seat, but the way that they fit together. So you can see that's absolutely perfect. So I'll just do a little fusion tack on there, throw all these together, make that first 90. I'm using a AHP TIG welder. This thing does a pretty good job. I got it on Amazon. It was actually pretty affordable. But it's got a lot of the different settings on there. I'm actually going to use the pulse setting on here after I tacked it. The pulse actually pulses on and off, and it really helps to fusion weld on there. So I'll show you how that works. Okay, so I got all my little dots on there. I'm going to do just a little fusion weld right now, just kind of show you guys how this works. I'm going to put this on pulse. So usually kind of a rule of thumb is 1 amp per thou when you're doing TIG welding, and this is 50 thousandths. So with the pulse, I turned it up just a little bit. It's sitting at 57. So you see how this pulse works, kind of cool. And that's actually a little too hot, but you can see makes pretty cool little weld. So I need to purge this because it'll sugar it underneath here. It'll make it kind of brittle. So I'm gonna have to put some purge through, some argon through here once I get this whole thing going. But see, it looks pretty good. This is over here, not so good. I was a little too hot, and then there was a hole in there and I had to fill it. So this is all gonna get powder coated, so I can kind of grind and fix some mistakes, which I don't like doing, but sometimes you have to. But yeah, that's the way it's gonna work. So the pulse setting's pretty neat. That air box, and I'm using my Arc Droid. This thing is really cool. It's basically a little portable CNC plasma cutter. So it's super easy to set up. You literally just go in there, you push trace, and then you hit this little stylus right here. Push a little button on there. Make it whatever sizes you want. So I'm making it 4 inches on the inside, 5 1/4 on the outside. And I just made 2 circles. And then once you have that done, it's basically ready to go. So I'm going to trace this. I like to do a kind of a trial run first just to make sure that my placement is good for the metal, because if I don't have it right, it's going to kind of go over the edge here. This piece is a little small for this, but it's a good sized chunk, so. So once I'm happy with where that's sitting, then I just push this little button right here, because right now it's off. So I just push that, start it over again, and it'll cut that circle. All right, so that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to push that guy, so it's basically ready to run. All right, that was it. Fling that out of the way. So I don't need that part. Yeah, she's a little stuck down in there. So that's the flange that I needed right there. Okay, well, it's stuck down there a little bit because it cuts on these edges. So, but that's the flange I need. Perfect circle, ready to go. So an easy way to grind these down, put them on this magnetic chuck. Just flip it on there. So usually on one side there's going to be some edges on there, the dross from there. And it's kind of hard to get off. So instead of holding it in a vise and just doing like one little part at a time, these little magnetic chucks are freaking awesome, man. Just kick it over and boom, it's stuck on there. You can just grind that off and you don't have to worry about that thing flinging around. All right, so I've shown this before. So this little piece is 1.5 inches off of that 90-degree pie cut that I made. That's going to go to the throttle body. So it's kind of hard to film that and turn everything at once. So just showing you the basic concept of it. I didn't put a super deep rib on here, but it's pretty good. It's just enough to keep it from popping off. So do that first before you weld it on. Obviously it makes it a lot easier. So now all I have to do is tack weld that on, and then we'll keep building the structure. That was cutting out on that arc droid. Little flange around there, welded it to a piece of pipe, so the inner part is hooked to the air cleaner, and then the outer flange is hooked right here. So that already looks a lot better. That turned out pretty good. And I'll probably attach it to the lid so it doesn't move around, but I want to give myself a little room right now. So basically that piece I just put the little straight part on there. Has the bead on there. That's going on here real nice. And then all I have to do now is just fill that part in. So I think probably be easier to work this way and then get my final piece in the middle. So I'll start building another pie for over here. I think that's pretty straightforward, and get the 90 completely done. And all I have to do is just kick it back a tiny bit. So yeah, I think that'll look pretty good. So I'll go get another 90 made up real quick. All right, so got that one in there. It's kind of laying in. And basically all I do now is fill in the middle part. Got this one already kind of cut. You see that fits pretty good in there. And then we got one little wedge. Hopefully that'll go in there, but I need my other hand to kind of fit it in there. But that's what it looks like so far. So let me get that squeezed in there and put some tacks, and we'll see if we can get that joined together. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with that. This can still go down just a teeny bit. I got to kind of figure out what's going on over here. I made a flange that I was going to have it stick up and attach it to here, but I think maybe I'll just kind of push all this down a little bit. Although I really don't have a lot of room. It's almost touching the alternator right there, so actually I think it's good. It does clear the hood right here. That little bracket, so yeah, just gotta finish welding it up and then powder coat it. I think it looks pretty good. Well, after a lot of welding, she's done. I got a couple little spots. It started to open up a little bit and I got a gap, and as soon as that happens it all turns to poop. But these ones over here, not too shabby. It's all right because it's all going to get powder coated anyway, so I can kind of touch it up, sand it down a little bit. I'm pretty happy with that. That's actually my first time with the pie cut, and fits really well. So we'll clean that up, powder coat it, put it on. Bada bing, bada boom, all done. So here's the semi-finished product. She looks real nice. So that's all the amount of rubber showing. This guy and then this little guy down here. And of course, got to get a couple clamps on there still. But we're going to powder coat all this black because he doesn't like shiny. Although it would probably look pretty cool shiny, but I got to touch up a couple little welds, so black is good. I like it. All right, so I need to make a bung for my air temperature gauge here, intake manifold air temperature. So I'm going to make an actual bung instead of just threading into this because this is pretty thin. So I'm going to turn that up on the lathe here. I already started with a piece and I realized, hey, I should probably film this. So drill a hole, make a little step on here for it to actually fit into the hole of that I made over there. But yeah, just drill and tap it to, I believe this is 3/8 pipe thread. I've got all my little pipe threads right there, or pipe taps. So super easy. Unfortunately, this is not stainless steel, but it doesn't really matter. It's going to get coated anyway, but steel will stick to stainless steel. So no biggie. So I'll get that spun up and we'll get that welded on. All right, 8:37. So just gotta go a few more. All right, 8:11. Oop, can't really see. That should fit. Now we can cut this off. All right, there we go. Got a little beveled edge on it. A little step to go into that hole. So I'm going to put it on there first and then tap it so I have something to hold it with. All right, there we go. So all I have to do is tap that. And we got a nice bung on there. Yeah, let it cool down. Ooh, she's hot. Muy caliente, wake. All right, so I got it all cleaned up. Most of the welds are pretty nice. I wish I could lay these dimes like these professional guys do. That's just absolutely gorgeous. Luckily, this is actually getting powder coated, so there's just a couple little blemishes. I mean, they look fine, but if you polish this up, it would look good. But we're going to do some powder coating on there. Powder coating is super easy. Basically, it's kind of like a plastic base paint. You spray it on there, cook it in the oven for 20 minutes, and it's done. Parts ready to bolt on. So I made this little stand. So you have electricity on here, and that puts a little charge in there. It's got a positive wire on there, and then this is negatively charged over here. And you just spray it on there. See, all that just clings on there. It's pretty cool. And I just have a regular kitchen oven in the backyard. Bought it off of Facebook Marketplace for 50 bucks. And that's all you need. Of course, you got to buy the tool. I got this one from Eastwood. I think Beaver has them now. I mean, obviously you can get them on eBay eBay and Amazon. I mean, everybody's got these things. This is definitely an entry-level unit. I think it was only $129, but for smaller parts, this is amazing. You can literally make a part, put some powder coat on it, cook it for 20 minutes, and you can bolt it on your car or motorcycle or office furniture or whatever you're doing. But that's it. It's all covered. So now I go throw it in the oven. Bada bing, bada boom. It's done. All right. Literally an old kitchen oven. I think I paid 50 bucks for it. But that's it. It's hanging in there. I have different racks so you can hang different parts. If it's a little bit smaller, you can put a rack in there and hang a bunch of stuff on there. Put the rack on the bottom and set it down, but you got to make sure you don't hit your powder coat. But yeah, it's so simple. So now we just set it and forget it. She done. This is the same textured powder coat that's on the intake manifold and the upper control or the upper radiator hose. Midnight black. yeah, that's it. 20 minutes. Bada bing, bada boom over here, huh? Looks nice. She's a little spicy. 400 degrees, but this stuff cools down pretty quick, so I just leave the door open for a little while. Cool her down, and basically she's about ready to bolt on. So I lined the inner part of that box. Then I made this flange that's hooked to this lid. So I'm going to tighten this down. Then it gets dropped into there. Then this little piece goes over, and the flange gets screwed onto here. And then the tube gets put on there, and it's all going to have the little rubber clamps on there. And that'll be it. So let me put all that stuff together. All right, there we go. Finished product. Whoop. Not quite finished. Now it's finished. So I think it looks pretty good. A little bit of a pain to get to, but it's not that bad. As much as he drives this thing, that air cleaner is going to be good for a long time. So, little screen on there. But yeah, it looks nice. Everything's nice and tight. Tight and right. So there we go. Another project finished up. And this car's pretty much done. I'm still waiting for rack and pinion, but other than that, it's all done. But this was about the tube, and the tube is finished. So I wanted to go over the numbers on what it would cost just to do that tube. If you're not really into the fabrication scene and hot rod scene and see how much things actually cost. It's just, nowadays, just everything's so expensive. So looking at this, they're 4-inch stainless steel pie cut intake tube. So from Amazon, I bought 3 packages of 5 cuts per package. So 3 of those is $134. So basically those 5 cuts can make a 90 degree. So I did have a couple left over. And then I bought a 4-inch piece of tube. 3-inch was almost the same price. And then if you get into smaller ones, it was almost more expensive to buy a smaller one. So I just bought a 4-inch piece. That was the most economical. Argon gas, I used a lot of gas. I did such a huge amount of welding and did a little bit of purging on there, and yeah, it sucked my thing dry. I was a little low on argon to start with, but now it's completely empty. So fill those tanks up is a little expensive. Stainless steel rod, I barely used 1 rod on there. Labor hours, I'd spent about 5 hours on that at $75 an hour, so that's $375. If you're doing this yourself, obviously you're not going to put your labor down. But the powder coating I did myself, you could probably have that done for about $50 or so. So total to the customer, $634.79 for 1 intake tube. So, you got to figure out, is it worth it? I mean, this is a nice car. It's a very, very expensive car with a lot of cool components on there. So at the end of the day, it's just money, right? We'll make some more. But yeah, it's a little expensive for just a tube. But I think it's worth it. It really finishes off the engine bay in there, and it looks really nice. So that's what it would cost. Like I said, obviously if you're doing it yourself, then you don't charge your labor, and you just spend as much time as you can on there. And then if you don't have a powder coating system, you'd have to take that out, outsource that, and get that done. But it is time consuming, and it's well worth it. It's pretty cool, and it was a fun project. So once again, thank you very much for joining us on this. And if you have any comments or questions, don't hesitate to let me know. If you like this kind of content, have dunes videos and primarily kind of some cool hot rod and sand rail stuff. So if you're into that, please give me a like, subscribe. Still trying to grow this challenge. It is a challenge, but I am trying to grow my channel up. So I appreciate all that. You guys have a great day.